I'm going to start off with a poem which I have written, so let's begin with it. And it says, "Time takes away my home. Time takes away my home, my mother's body, and I was complete. I had everything I needed, but the time took away my home. When the time came, I was pushed out, and the meaning of the world changed for me. Warmth of her arms and chest, my home now. But the time took away my home. When it came, I limited myself to her hand and completed my home with others. My home was now in pieces. My father, brothers and sisters loved and showered all they could. It was a lot, but never whole. My home was now granted in installments. When time came, I sought it out, and friends provided a shoulder to cry, a space I could do whatever I wished for, a space where all the wrong could seem right. When time came, hormones started to dance on their own, and now I sought someone with whom I could share more than just laughs and sorrow. Looked for long and found myself complete yet again in the warmth of arms and chest, the warmth which would dilute me and sink me. We were two but felt like one. And in that moment, our bodies united and planted a seed to which I was home. But the time took away my home. When it came, it was in my hands, feeding on to me. I was the source of survival and reasons of its existence. I was all it needed. I was her home. But the time has to take away my home. Now the time has come when she seeks her home outside, and I don't seek home no more. Now I am in the corner looking at her drift away, leaving a sight for me, a sight of my own story. Change and time are intertwined together. Our comfort zones shift with every stage of life. Life changes, expectation changes. What brings us happiness today may not do so tomorrow. Then how do we navigate through life and have some control over how we turn out to be? Look at this rock. This rock was taken from Harappan civilization, so approximately 8,000 years old. The rock took its shape basis the encounter it had with water streams, winds, and humans. And with every encounter, it changed its shape. Just like us, with every circumstance which we have experienced in our lives, it has changed us. So now, if the nature takes care of all the changes which happens with the rock or with us, what control do we have on top of it? How should we embrace change? How should we talk about it? What should we think of it? The change which we experience is something which we have to understand, and understand that our mind will always oppose it, will not like it. Why? Because there are two things which we experience. If you sit on a couch and you don't feel like getting up from it because you forgot something, it's a change which you have ensured yourself, but now you wouldn't feel it. And if the same sofa gets changed into a recliner, you will have the joy of unpacking and squeezing yourself into the comfort of it. Why do we resist change? Can you recall the first day at school when your parents dropped you off and you cried as if the world was taken from you? Do you remember the last day at the same school when you cried again, this time because you didn't want to leave but had to? And in a week's time, you were all excited about your college life. Change is one thing which is constant. And I'm going to talk about two things today. One, that we do not like change. We don't want it. And second, we always yearn for more. Because if the life is usual, then we are nothing but a bore. So now, let me talk about why do we resist change in the first place. Now, our brain functions a lot like Google Maps. Everybody uses Google Maps, we know what it is. And it's very similarly how our brain functions. So any thought, any action which we repetitively do, our brain will strengthen the neural pathways of it. The more we use it, it automatically becomes stronger and becomes easy for us. And we do this because we are always on energy saving mode. Speaking of energy saving mode, we are inherently lazy. We have something called natural inertia. What does that mean? It means, do you remember the couch example when you just sat down and you don't feel like getting up and you ask somebody to get it for you? That's natural inertia. Another thing which our brain goes through is that, how many of you believe that you often are negative? Everybody say, why are you so negative? Our brains are wired to protect us. They're always negative. Why? Because it likes to know what to do when things go bad. As simple. It likes to know what should I do when things don't go the way I want to. What should I do if the talk doesn't go the way I want to? So now, our brain will, every time you are experiencing something which is absolutely new, you've never experienced that in your life, your brain will go back in the memory lane, will pull out the similar kind of experiences which you have had in life, and start to give you the possible outcomes which will possibly be there for you. Now, because the brain thinks negative more often than the positive ones, the list of the negative possible outcomes will be much longer than the positive ones. How many of you like horror movies? You enjoy ghosts? Wonderful. Now, in all horror movies you would see, there is a build-up for the ghost's arrival. There's always a build-up for the ghost's arrival. Why is that? Because the anticipation of the ghost is scarier than the actual arrival of it. So now, when I go back to my memory lane, and this is what I started to think about, when I was a kid, and if you go back to my school and tell my teachers that this is the talk I'm giving today, they'll probably faint. Why? Because I could not even read in front of my class. And the reason I could not do so, I anticipated my failure. I anticipated the mockery which would soon to follow afterwards. And with that, I convinced myself not to try. Stay where you are and life will be absolutely alright. So I decided to stay and I stayed. But the world moved. And when the world moved, I was the one who was left behind. So I told myself, this is now or never. Do something about it. But the mind doesn't stop. What if I fail? What if people laugh at me? What if something I do and whatever little space I've been able to create for myself is also taken away? Will I be better off then? No. So then, I told myself that okay, you got to do something. And as the distance between my actions and my own expectations increased, my depression got deeper. And in that, I realized that I had to give myself a challenge. And the challenge was to participate in everything possible without worrying about my capability. The aim was not to succeed, showing up was. I just had to show up. I did everything which could possibly humiliate me, which will push me into a corner until a time there is nothing which embarrasses me anymore. And when I reached that moment, I realized that the outcomes were much better than what I anticipated about my own self. I realized that I was the hardest person I could ever be around. I behaved as if I hated myself. And the stories I was telling myself was probably the worst things which anybody could say to anyone. And in that moment I realized that there's only one person I'm going to be with the rest of my life, and there's one person who would never leave me, and that was the person inside of me. And in that moment, I realized that of all the people in the world I strive so hard to build relationships with, I need to build a better relationship with my own self. But nothing in life remains the way it is. Years later, when everything turned around, life was much better, I was bored. I had everything I wanted in life. I had all the pleasures of life, and yet I was coming home smiling lesser every day. And that made me a crazy person. So I came back home, packed everything, and left. My mother was like, "Where are you going?" I said, "I don't know." "When are you going to come back?" "I don't know. I just want to go." Another day, I came back home, I had a man bun, took out my trimmer and shaved off my head out of the blue. And I asked myself, why am I doing all of these things? And I realized I did it because I was bored. I needed something different. I needed change in my life. Because before that moment, I never realized change was so important to have in life, like something which you want to put into your own life. And when the priority of my life changed from stability to variety. And suddenly I started to get called as the crazy guy who would do the weirdest things, who would say the stupid things and behave very weirdly. And I went ahead with it. Speaking about change and embracing change, let's go back to the time when we were cavemen. Imagine you are in the jungle. The birds are chirping. The sun is about to set, and the darkness seeps into the woods. And you hear the wolves sniffing around. And just then, your baby starts to cry. It all started with the effort of building a safer life. That is what brought us from the stages of being a caveman 2.5 million years ago to being the strongest on this planet. It is our journey, yours and mine. Our ancestors went through this journey because they wanted to change something. And that is why we have something called TEDx, and I'm talking to you here. If that wouldn't have happened, if we wouldn't have sought change, if we would have asked for change in life, we would have stayed where we were. And just when we spoke about transformations, we spoke about it's a choice. So now that leaves you with two things in life. You can either be a product of your circumstances, which means that the life gives you a lot of things, sends you a lot of change, and you just deal with them. You're a product of your circumstances. Or you can become a product of your choice, which means while the life plays its course, you decide what are you going to do about it. And that is one question I want to leave you with all. When life isn't what you want it to be, when you're in the cave and the wolves arrive, what are you going to do about it? Will you pick up the stick and fight and defend, or surrender? Remember, when you choose to do nothing, you still do something. A lot of times we convince ourselves, it's all right, I'm not going to do anything about it. When you decide not to do anything about it, you still end up doing something about it. So, when change is surrounded, one, do you let it come and impact you alone, or do you do something about it and change things? You experience how you want to experience things. And with that, I'm going to talk about simple things. One, if you want the change to come and you deal with it and life goes on, so be it, that's a choice which you make. That in that case, life will always happen to you. But if you choose a different path and you become a product of your own choice, life will start to happen for you. And there's just a variation of 2 and 4, but it makes all the difference. Everything in your life either will happen to you or it will happen for you, which will embrace you, which will uplift you further. At the end, I'm going to leave you with one simple story. One night in a museum, when everything got shut down, everything in it comes to life. So the floor marble asked a question to the statue marble. Why do people come and step on me and praise you? Fair question. We are made of exactly the same thing. So why do people come and step on me and praise you? So the statue marvel replies, when the craftsman tried to cut you, you did not allow him to cut. But how could I have allowed him to cut? The tools and everything which he used was so painful, I couldn't bear the pain and I became stiff and I did not allow him to cut. So the statue marvel replies, it is that pain which I endured, which transformed me into a statue today. And that is why people come and step on you and praise me. Thank you so much, everyone.